Hello and welcome to the channel. My name is Atrocious. You can also call me Jake, and today we're going over the Hyogo Championship Finals in OP08. Very exciting. We've seen top 16, top 8, top 4, a thrilling match in that last round, and now to the finals. We knew that Red Purple Law was coming in from that top 4 match, spoiler alert, but Rob Lucci is going to be our other deck, as you can see here. I'm super excited to join you all in this one, but before we get going, a couple quick things. One, this is not my official content. This is the official live stream that I'm going to be watching. I'm not going to make any money off of this. I'm just doing this for commentary practice, especially commentary practice for the People's Card Shop Las Vegas Regionals. So the link to the stream is going to be in the description below for the tournament if you want to watch that instead of listen to me yap. But another link will be in the description below if you want to watch me yap on the Las Vegas Store Regionals. So Store Regionals are happening literally, I think today the Store Regional is happening at the time that this video should be posted. So today, Saturday, July 6th, if you're not doing anything, at about 11 a.m. this tournament is going to start over at twitch.tv/thepeoplescardshop. Twitch.tv/People's Card Shop. Again, link will be in the description below. Store Championships, very exciting time. We got players all across the country coming to this, as well as some locals as well. Going to be an exciting and competitive tournament in the OP07 format. And then later, after the event, if you can't catch it live, we will upload it onto our YouTube channel here. So I highly encourage that you go watch it on Twitch, help support the channel in that way. But that's enough of the self-promotion. Let's go into what you're really here for. So we've seen this matchup again and again here in the OP08 format. It's a really curious matchup as well. The Rob Luccis have really built themselves around being able to stop Red Purple Law as kind of its most formidable foe in the format. The Rob Lucci here and this Red Purple Law player facing off in this one. I have both deck lists pulled up, so going to be able to see exactly their decks. We know this player's list if you paid attention to the end of the last video in this channel, but the Rob Lucci list is pretty interesting in its own right. It's pretty typical, I feel like, in most facets of what you would normally see in Rob Lucci decks, but I think one inclusion that some people are on about and some people are off about is the 5-drop blocker Sabo. That OP04 Dressrosa 5-cost blocker is in this Rob Lucci's list. He's got 2 of them, so we'll see if they come into this game right here as players are mulliganing. And so the Rob Lucci player not even looking at the hand, just putting out the life right away. We see in the Trafalgar Law's hand, it's not terrible. You've got Black Maria putting Kid Killer and Raise Max. You've got some bottom decking that you can do, especially in the early game, and the Black Maria is going to help you continuously get that Dawn back. You would just have to think that the Black Marias and Puddings are going to be KO'd about as soon as they hit the field, so this hand could get a little tricky, especially with no draw whatsoever. We've seen Red Purple Law struggle against Rob Lucci when they don't have draw to be able to replenish their board and bring back out characters. The Rob Lucci looks to have an Ice Age, 2 Ice Ages in hand. So Ice Age, not really a card that you love in this matchup, and this hand could all depend on what this 1-cost Spandam has for them. With a Spandime and a Helmeppo, could be a little difficult to get rid of what's going on in this game. They do have that Spandime though in here, so the Spandime is going to be interesting because especially with the Spandam, the 1-cost that's in your hand, and also your leader effect of trashing 2 cards, you could get something like a Rob Lucci from OP05 in the trash and then be able to use the Spandime to bring that up and KO characters. So not the worst hand, but I feel like we could have better hands than this. So after the Red Purple Law going first, doing a Dawn and pass, going to be a 2 Dawn draw and pass, and with the 8-cost Gecko, the 8-cost Gecko is going to be nice. So starting off playing this Spandam, this 1-cost, going to be 3 cards right here. It's going to be a Who's Who right there, and a Who's Who and a Gecko hit the bin. The Who's Who, remember, is an Animal Kingdom Pirates. Wait, Spandam can only grab CP characters, right? Isn't a Who's Who just an Animal Kingdom pirate? Oh, it does look like on the official reveal that it is a CP type character. If you go to the like One Piece top decks, it just says Animal Kingdom Pirates right here. So for anyone who is confused, Spandam can grab a Who's Who, just in case you were wondering like I was. So knowing that information, that makes a lot more sense as we pass it off to the Trafalgar Law. And so the Trafalgar Law is going to swing 5k right here, going to take this life, going to be trying to get something that they want. A Rob Lucci, 4-cost Rob Lucci is not bad to get, and so getting this Black Maria down right here, going to be using leader effect to bottom deck the Spandam, and off of top decking that Reiju, going to play that down, draw 2 cards, and then Black Maria back up to 2 Dawn right here at the end of this turn. So off of that, drawing a Raise Max and a Zoro, not going to be terrible, but you could see a lot of non-counter in your hand, especially as the game goes on, now having 4 non-counter cards and 2 counter cards. So first going to be swinging 5 and doing the leader effect, getting a Jack and Rob Lucci away. Going to be taking this life and minusing one of the characters, I think the Black Maria. Going to grab an Otama, so getting some counter cards off of that. And with 4, going to go ahead and play this Rob Lucci. We've seen this time and time again in this matchup, how Rob Lucci, even if only KOing one character, is so essential in this, especially with getting rid of the Black Maria. So Black Maria now gone here for Dawn for the Trafalgar Law. What are they going to top deck right here? It's going to be a Trafalgar Law blocker, so the blocker would be able to get rid of 2 cards from hand, as the Rob Lucci has 7 or more. But with Rob Lucci wanting cards in the trash, is that something that you really want to risk in this matchup? So going to be resting 3, it looks like, thinking about maybe playing the Pudding, I would assume. And the Pudding would allow you to get a rested Dawn back every single turn after you use leader effect. So could be something, a play that I think they're eyeing up right now. Could also, with the 1 extra Dawn, use a Raise Max right here. So being able to bottom deck the Rob Lucci would be very good in playing down these characters. This 5k swing from the Reiju, though, is going to prompt a Helmeppo counter right there. Helmeppo, great in the trash for your Geckos. Those 8 costs right there. And going to be swinging 5 again. Going to decide whether or not they want to get rid of a card or not. You could get rid of the Brook. The Brook would also kind of be nice in the trash combo, as well as also with your Geckos, but also the Rebeccas that you have in deck. But thinking instead of trashing this Spandine, the Spandine as well, you know, does the same thing with the Brook in terms of the synergy with the trash. And so after playing this Raise Max and also this Pudding, going to be bottom decking the Raise Max minus the power on the Rob Lucci, going to bottom deck it and then play off of this a Zoro right here, especially with only 5 cards in hand. You don't want to play blocker Law, so might as well just get another swing in right here. This Zoro, being a 3 cost, is very likely to be KO'd in the coming turn, so getting that life while you can is nice. And so now at 6 Dawn, I believe, 2, 4, 6 right there, top decking a 2k Khalifa. So Khalifa is very nice, and having a Spandam and Khalifa in the combination of life and a top deck could be something that we see the Spandam come in and build up the trash a little bit more. We had to put some trash back through the Rob Lucci, maybe get you a couple different options in the later stages of the game. Might be thinking about also playing Ice Age to get rid of one of these characters. If you did play the Ice Age, but swinging 7 to start, the 7 is going to be at the Zoro, I believe. So trashing 2 going to be a Khalifa and Brook, minusing the Reiju. So letting that Zoro go right there. Going to Ice Age the Reiju as well and play that Brook to, because that Reiju is under a 0 cost, going to play that Brook, and the on play is going to knock it out. Brook, being a 4,000 power character, is a strong character in this deck because it forces your opponent to use one of the Gordon or Raise Maxes that they might have in hand to get rid of this. And so maybe thinking about playing the Otama instead of the Gordon or Raise Max, that might be something that they eye up and key in for this play. Maybe even playing another Pudding. We do know that with the Pudding, it is a once per turn, so you would be able to get back 2 Dawn with the 2 Puddings on the field. But in here as well, you are going to do the one, it looks like it is going to be the Otama play that I mentioned, going to minus 2,000 the Brook, and then with the 3 play the Pudding, going to be really nice off of this leader effect to get you 2 Dawn back. And after this Sachian Penguin, and with the Sachian Penguin, you're actually going to hurdle yourself in Dawn, going now up to 5 Dawn. So really heads up play in that aspect. Not a lot of cards though in hand, only 1k worth of counters. So especially with the 8 cost Gecko coming up, could be a little tricky in the coming turns, especially if the Gecko comes down. We will see this 5k swing right here. Could be a Khalifa, and it is going to be a Khalifa counter on that part. I would have maybe thought the Spandam could have been done, because especially if you play the Gecko on this 8 Dawn turn, swinging 5, trashing 2 cards, minusing the Pudding, gonna take that life, and an 8,000, or I'm sorry, an 8 cost Gecko is going to come down. You've got a Helmeppo right there and Rob Lucci. The Helmeppo Lucci, the main reason I feel like why the Spandam was not countered is because you wanted to do those 2 and KO 2 characters, right? With the Pudding being at a 2 off of the leader effect, the Helmeppo is going to minus 3 on the Sachi Penguin, putting it at 1, and the Rob Lucci is going to KO those 2 characters. Now, no more attacking threats on the field for this Trafalgar Law, going to have to draw into them. And with a Sachi Penguin and a Sanji right here, you've got a couple 2k counters that are in your hand, which are very nice. And especially with right now 7 Dawn, I believe, you've got an opportunity to play this Kid Killer potentially. The Kid Killer, though, with only 1 in hand, we know that Red Purple Laws like to only really use Kid Killers at the later stages of the game. So might be a turn where they think about playing the Trafalgar Law blocker. The blocker does go down pretty easily through a couple different effects, especially on a leader effect Who's Who play, right? Because the leader effect would -1 the Trafalgar Law, and then the Who's Who would KO it, which, I mean, our opponent doesn't know that they have, or actually, no, they do know that the Who's Who is in hand because they search it off the Spandam. So doing a great job in this one. So with that swing from the Pudding, going to try to KO that Helmeppo. Going to be a counter, or maybe swinging out life it could have been, because that is a 5,000 power Pudding. Going to be a Spandam counter right there, preserving the bodies on field or life. And now going to be swinging 7, going to take that right there with 4 Dawn left. Now at this point, going to be playing the Raise Max, going to minus the Rob Lucci. We're going to see that Rob Lucci go away yet again. We'll see what they want to do with the rest of this 3 Dawn right here. Could be using leader effect to bottom deck this Rob Lucci. Going to have to decide between the blocker right here, this blocker with the Dawn coming back off of the Pudding is going to bring 1 back, and then they'll probably rest 3 for the Sanji blocker to get it on field. Remember that when you're down 2 Dawn or more, the Sanji becomes a 3 cost from your hand, fulfilling the requirement of, you know, both the leader effect, but also just playing from hand. But also when it hits the field, it goes back up to a 6 cost. So very important in this matchup specifically for the Rob Lucci to note that this Sanji is a 6. Going to potentially be playing this Ice Age. This Ice Age would get the Sanji down to 1, and then has a couple different opportunities to be able to do different things. I think they're maybe thinking about playing the Who's Who in this turn. The Who's Who would get rid of another character, might try to swing the Helmeppo as well. You could use the Ice Age, but going to be swinging first at the Pudding. The Pudding is going to get KO'd. Don't want to give anything for that. You only have a 2K in hand, and so with the rest of this done, really a dominant spot, I feel like, for this Rob Lucci, with so many cards in hand and not a lot of draw at all for this red purple law. Finding a Rebecca is going to be real nice. You could see an Ice Age come down with the Rebecca, grabbing back a Brook that you have in the trash, and then playing that Brook, getting rid of the Sanji, and then through leader effect you would be able to -1 the law blocker. And although attaching 3 Dawn, I don't think you have enough Dawn to be able to do the play that I was thinking of. I was going to say you could play the Who's Who to get rid of it, but is going to be -1 that blocker right there, and taking that life. Is going to be swinging again at life and getting that one as well. Going to be a 4-drop law and a 5-drop kid. So doing the play that I was mentioning of this Ice Age is going to be playing that card down. Going to be -5 to the Sanji, and so playing that Rebecca, going to be grabbing a Brook and getting rid of that Sanji. So the 1 cost minus on the law was just a ploy in a sense, but with that law still on the field, you're going to be doing the play that I mentioned earlier of the Who's Who. If they don't establish any more blockers, you're going to be able to really push for game at that point. So especially with a 2K and a 0 cost event in hand, I don't think you're worried about losing this turn, and especially keeping this Gecko alive is going to be so strong. After top decking that Gordon, the Gordon is going to be nice for getting rid of a character, but your options are dwindling for this law, even though you're at 7 Dawn in general right now. So going to be a tough situation for this law. I would think that they probably try to bottom deck the Brook in a sense. I don't know if you have enough Dawn or even characters on field to get rid of the Gecko. We could see it minus the Gecko, put it at 6,000, bottom deck the Rebecca blocker, and then play the Kid and Killer down. The Kid and Killer does have a good opportunity to be able to KO the Gecko because you can get it down to 6 overall. And so especially with this Trafalgar law in hand too, and the Eustace Captain Kid blocker, we could see a couple different minus effects hit the Gecko. A lot of times, you know, people key in on just the idea of minusing to bottom deck a character, but not necessarily minusing a character to be able to KO it in battle. So could be a strategy that we see unfold in this turn. We know that Rob Lucci doesn't have any rush characters that they usually play, not playing that rush Rob Lucci from, I believe, OP03. And so now with that 1 Dawn, I think, again, eyeing up that Gordon, I think maybe they're trying to decide whether or not they want to minus the Gecko or the Brook. And so attaching 1 Dawn, going to be swinging 6, is going to be at life right here. So I don't know if I would have done. It's a little tough in this situation. I think maybe they're trying to push for game at this point, but going to be blocking off of that Rebecca. Don't want to give them any cards at all, and now makes it difficult for them to be able to get rid of more of these characters because you kept all those cards in hand. Thinking about playing the Eustace Captain Kid. The Eustace Captain Kid would be nice to establish with no stage on field, no NS Lobby stage. Eustace Captain Kid is a troublesome card to get rid of a lot of times, so could see that right there. But with the Brook still on field, the Brook plus leader effect would be able to pop the Eustace Captain Kid. So a little bit of a struggle right now on here. Probably going to want to bottom deck the Brook, if anything, now if you go for that play of playing the Eustace Captain Kid. So going to be playing that kid like I mentioned, and going to be doing leader effect first. He's going to be using leader effect first, bottom decking the Helmeppo. Yes, you get rid of that body, but now the Brook, unless you swing at this Brook, is going to stay on the field. And so playing that kid killer is going to get another swing in right now. Maybe try to think about attaching the 2 Dawn and competing with the Gecko, but is just going to be swinging 8 now at this Brook. Maybe knowing that they have at least one 2K in hand, maybe thinking about the 0 cost, and so letting that get KO'd, going to be preemptively playing a Gordon. It's not worth being in your hand anyways, and is able to be their focus, right? But with so much available to them, especially with that Tempest kick right there, is going to be able to do a lot of damage in this game. So with the Spandime as well, you could spend a couple Dawn, like use the Spandam, get a Rob Lucci potentially, and with the Tempest kick, the leader effect, you might be able to get in a situation where you can KO both of these characters on the field. But thinking about swing 9 first, I definitely think the Spandam is a risky play that you don't need to take at this point. And so thinking about where they want to go, going to be swinging 9 first, going to block right there. And with the Tempest kick, going to -3 the kid or the Eustace Captain kid with 5 Dawn could rest that to get rid of it. There's a Rob Lucci in hand now. With the Rob Lucci being drawn off of the top, maybe Spandam was a good play, but Eustace Captain Kid going to be KOing the Gordon and the Eustace Captain Kid. Those are 2-1 after that Tempest kick, and going to be swinging 10 at lead and getting the win. Rob Lucci, another win in the championship series over Trafalgar Law, its most formidable foe. People have started figuring out how to counter Red Purple Law, and it looks like that this may be a 2-deck format incoming in OP08, or maybe a 3-deck with the inclusion of Enel. We'll have to see in future tournaments how the Enel continues to evolve in response to this one, but an exciting game overall as well. Let's look at the 2-deck list from this tournament. And so first we've got the Red Purple Laws list. We've seen this before in the previous video, so we won't spend too much time on it, but really just a more cookie cutter list that we've seen in this game. The playing 16 2Ks, had to do some quick math with so many of them in the deck. Has a lot of opportunities for counter, but especially if you don't continuously see your Reijus, you don't continuously see your queens to draw cards, it is the downfall. No matter how much counter you have, it may not be enough. And so not getting that one right there. Didn't actually see too many Reijus and queens in the couple rounds that we saw. Really, the Red Purple Law, it's very interesting to see this deck across so many different tournaments. You know, thought it was really unstoppable in the beginning, and although I do think it is still very, very strong, and is kind of like shaping the format in a sense of what decks need to build in order to counter this and be able to not have an entirely losing matchup against this deck. It's really interesting to see this kind of glass cannon lifestyle that this deck has. You know, if it doesn't see Reijus and doesn't see queens, it's not great. And then if you do see Reijus and you do see queens, but maybe you don't see Gordons or Raise Maxes, that's also an insanely huge struggle in this game. But that doesn't even mention the fact of Black Maria, right? If you don't see Black Maria, it could be a super difficult game. So really curious on this one. It has so many like different components that need to go in order to reach that peak. But if it does hit those, it is almost an unstoppable deck, it feels like at certain points. So really curious to see, like, as we continue in this meta, how it's kind of like settled in a sense. But here's the winning list from the event. It's this Rob Lucci. We didn't get to see it, but opting for 2 Sabos in this list. Sabo, a really good card that we have continuously seen in several formats now through Sakazuki, right, in OP06, OP07 now with Rob Lucci, Black Yellow Luffy as well. Just so many. One of the best black cards, I feel like, in terms of blockers. One of the best options for you there. And then playing kind of the standard reminder that the Who's Who is a CP9 card, so can be grabbed off of the Spandam. That really caught me off guard when I saw that, and that one was not prepared for that. But I do know that the NS Lobby stage is not one that you can grab, so I can guarantee that. But other than the NS Lobby, some other non-CP cards that you play in this deck, the Sabo, like I mentioned, the Jack, a very good card that we saw previously in this tournament get played, but we didn't see exactly its full strength. The Brook in here, which Brook, a very good card that people are starting to put 4 ofs in their decks. We've got Rebecca right there, the Ice Age, a really good card, and also the Helmeppo. So great tournament. I thought it was super thrilling to see the Enel do well and have some damage dealt. We'll be again curious to see how decks continue to evolve. I think we have a break in terms of these championship tournaments for a week before we get back into the swing of things. So make sure again to check out the channel for more tournaments in the coming future. I'm going to have some locals matches as well coming in from OP07 to kind of fill the void in terms of more daily uploads for the channel with these championship tournaments. And then also don't forget, one more plug, the People's Card Shop over on Twitch, twitch.tv/People's Card Shop. I'm going to be part of the commentating crew for the Las Vegas store regional in OP07. So again, if you're watching this video and it's sometime probably between 11 a.m. Pacific time or, gosh, I don't know, like 3 p.m. Pacific time, go check out the Twitch channel to check out the tournament. But if you happen to miss it, if you're watching it Sunday or something, do not worry, because it will be uploaded on the YouTube channel here in the future, hopefully sooner rather than later. I'm going to try to get it up as fast as possible for you guys. So thank you again so much for watching. Hopefully you enjoy this, and I'll see you later.